Welcome to the Indiana Athletic Trainers Association podcast. The IATA is dedicated to advancing the profession of athletic training and empowering membership through advocacy, education, networking, and innovative resources. To find out more about the IATA, check out our website and social media pages. The views and opinions expressed by speakers, guests, or others who have provided materials to and for this podcast are not necessarily those of the IATA. The IATA assumes no responsibility for nor endorses any of the comments, recommendations, or materials that are provided. Welcome back to the IATA podcast. My name is Daniel Welty and hosting this episode, and another great episode for everybody listening in. And this is continuing or catching up with past IATA presidents, and have the pleasure of having the fourth IATA president on, Steve Reisinger. Welcome, Steve.
Hey, thanks, Daniel. I'm glad and happy to be here.
Yeah. Many people know who you are, but if you want to give a quick introduction and tell us anything you'd like to tell people about yourself.
All right. Well, I'm a undergraduate from Anderson University. At that time, it was Anderson College, and uh, went on to get my master's at Ball State, and also took several classes at Indiana State. So that's sort of my educational background. And in 1976, I came. I was actually there for a year, left and went to California, and then in '76 was asked to come back, and that's where sort of started my career. I was there like 44 years, I think. It was my total number of years there. There, so uh, in addition to that, I'd worked. Uh, Pro football. I went. I used to work for the Chicago Bears from '82 to '92. I worked for the Chicago Bears with Fred Cato. Do you remember? I don't know if you know Fred, but uh, he's uh, he's retired now as well. So, uh, and then one of my goals while I was at Anderson was to start an educational program at a private school because there wasn't any at that time. And so that was one of my goals to do so. So at that time, the internships were still in existence, and I saw at that earlier on, I sort of combined it to a combination of taking classes and doing the internship, and then eventually we become an approved curriculum back in early '80s, I believe it was that actually occurred. So. Uh, And then I trudged along there doing that, enjoyed that opportunity to be with a lot of students and so on. And then in 2016, um, I decided to retire. My wife has some health issues, and I felt like at that time it was a great opportunity for me to step away and enjoy retirement and take care of her for all those years. So and that's sort of where I'm at.
Yeah. Well, and obviously, you have, well, I know that you have done a lot within the IATA, not just serving as IATA president, but on a lot of different committees and being involved in that way. But one of the things, with your IATA presidency, obviously that's catching up with past presidents. That's what this series is about. One of the things I wanted to ask you about, because I find it very interesting, is the IATA logo. I think
Ah,
you worked with an Anderson, maybe I think he was a football player, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken.
yeah.
Uh,
It's a guy by the name of Pete Grandjean uh, was the student of mine, and he's a football player and great friend. And he was a great artist. In fact, so I asked him one day. I said, "Hey, do you think that you would uh, have the opportunity to draw up a logo?" And I sort of threw it in his ballpark, and using the initials IATA, and then he came up with uh, the logo we had in the beginning. So,
Yeah. I always find that.
and the thing, the key was it didn't cost us anything. We were
Well,
always looking for ways to extend the budget
I
back
th
then.
I think that still holds true today. Over the course of 40 years of the IATA, it's always how can we save money? I not necessarily save money, but also make sure we're using the membership dollars appropriately because that's hugely important
It
when we're
is.
doing that. So, and for those listening in, if you head over to the IATA website, there's actually a history page of the logos of the IATA currently on the fourth. But always found that kind of interesting. Just a cool piece of history. Utilizing a student athlete to kind of help with that process. So
Yes. Well, I thought it was a pretty cool logo at the time, and of course I was biased when we changed it, but hey, all good things come to an end, right?
absolutely, yeah.
uh,
Well, what are some other things that you were able to you feel like you were able to accomplish as president of the IATA?
well, of course, I didn't mention a couple of things I probably should have mentioned, but uh, one of the things I was on the national board of directors for BOC, and during some of that time as well. And once I popped off that, I continued to host the exam in Indiana and coordinated it in all of District 4, but was smart enough to realize that I couldn't be at every state all the time. And so uh, helped select people to help me do that. And what I tried to do was find somebody in each state at that time in the district to pull all that together. And because we tried to give the exam, because one of my goals was not to have the students travel long distances and have necessarily have hotel stays that they could avoid it. So we gave the exam in Indiana somewhere about 4 times a year to try to do it to help all the students to that. And then also after my presidency, I became the president of the uh, licensure board and was on that board for a number of years, and finally ended up asking the governor if I could be replaced because I wasn't supposed to stay as long as I did, and at that time, and the governors would change, and they just would never change us, unfortunately. And so I finally persuaded them to find someone to replace me. And of course, that was a guy by the name of Dave Craig, and he replaced me on that licensure board. So those are a couple of facts. I didn't have anything to do with my presidency, but uh, it sort of molded the way I was thinking and some of the things that I tried to get implemented during that time as president. So,
Yeah.
and now go. What was your question again? Sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah. What was some things you feel like you were able to accomplish when you were president?
Well, one of the things that and earlier on back at that time was that happened with this board of certification was everybody had to get CEUs, and obviously, uh, oftentimes that's difficult for athletic trainers just to pack up and go get CEUs, right? as we all know, and it can also be an expensive item. So I think one of the things we tried to do was enhance the educational programs that we had, and also we started hosting our meetings at a place, the Adams Mark. I don't think the Adams Mark's there any longer, but it's out near the was out near the airport, and so we tried to host our meetings there. So I thought that was one of the things I was really pushed for, was to try to enhance those educational opportunities for uh, the athletic trainers in Indiana to do that. So and then one of my, I had the opportunity to spend quite a lot of time with several of the older, at that time they were older, athletic trainers, Bob Binky and Pinky Newell. Had many conversations with Pinky and Mel Blickenstaff and stuff about things that I wanted to look at their heritage and try to find out things that they felt like we needed to do. And so uh, one of the things that was, I think all of us felt like, was licensure was important for us. If we were going to move the profession forward, we needed licensure. And so that was one of my big pushes, was to do that. And it's an interesting little story. I'll tell you this story. When I was president, we had a meeting. We were going to meet with a senator from Fort Wayne, and so we go. Ralph, at that time, I think was he headed the governmental affairs committee, and so we were going down to the Capitol to spend the day to try to create some action for us. And we went in to talk to the senator, and he was in session and would never talk to us at that time. I was a little frustrated. I know Ralph was frustrated by it. And there was a guy there that I had gotten to know as a result of uh, part of that process, was to by the name of Dick Harris. Dick Harris was a former U.S. state senator, and he became a lobbyist. So he saw me and saw Ralph and I standing there, and I said to he came by and started talking to me, and he said, "Hey," he said, "Steve, what are you guys doing here today?" And I said, "Well, we're trying to see this state senator talking about our licensure." And I said, "We're having a difficult time getting to him." And he says to me, "Well, hold on a second." He gets a piece of paper and writes a note on it, hands it to the sergeant at arms at the door. And about 3 minutes later, that state senator is out there talking to us. So we had our discussion and so on. And then afterwards, I said to Ralph, "Ralph, that's an example why we need a lobbyist. Because with a stroke of a pencil or a pen, he was able to get that guy out there and uh, was able to have some dialogue, which we were never able to have very much of that happening. So that sort of got the ball going, and so I was I implemented where we were able to actually hire Dick Harris to be our lobbyist for several years, and he was a great guy. It was interesting. Sometimes you don't know how impactful some of those people can be. And I remember a couple meetings we were having, talking about the state law and what we were going to be putting in it, and how we wanted things to move. And we were out having a lunch meeting, and multiple people came by and said to him, "Hey, good to see you, Senator." And which I thought was interesting too. Here he had been gone for several years, but was still respected enough that they honored him by calling him Senator. So I thought, yeah, we definitely need that person. And so we were able to pool the funds. Some of our corporate sponsors helped us do that. And of course, I think that's when we sort of started where you could give money to help support that uh, avenue of having a lobbyist, and so I think that that helped us a great deal because I one of the things I think that we had uh, a law was that it was a pretty strong law, and at that time there were very few, if any, models to choose from, and so we were sort of blazing the trail uh, on some of that. About the only one that I can remember was uh, Texas had a form of a licensure. I don't know if you were at that time. They were one of the first, I think, to have that state licensed athletic trainer. But anyway, uh, we were able to develop a really strong law, and it was actually used by many states afterwards after we got it implemented and put into play. There are several states that modeled their state law after ours. And so I think that was a compliment to us for the hard work we had done about getting licensure. And I think that for us as athletic trainers, that's what opened the door and allowed us to have some recognition by different agencies and so on uh, to be an athletic trainer, which helped us, I think, in our profession.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a great story, and I think really tells the story of the IATA within its initial origin and why the IATA was formed. I know that David Craig talks about it. It's like, yeah, we want licensure, and that was kind of the thing. And, I think Pinky Newell was definitely part of that. I was like, okay, you guys need to start an association and get the ball rolling with that. And then obviously
Right.
things that year. But I think really for the first, 15 years of the IATA, it was all about getting licensure. Obviously, I know that you had helped put together and develop that licensure bill. And in 1993, we were able to get certification and then eventually later turn into licensure. And so a lot of effort by you and your colleagues and people that, from the start of the IATA for many years, to get us to that point now where people like me have the great fortune of being able to be like, yep, that's just something that's normal now, right? Like it's just a common practice for us to have that licensure. But we know as athletic trainers and anything can change in the state house. And so we want to make sure that we keep great relationships, just like we do with our patients. We do a great job, I think, in having good staff, with having a lobbyist and having good relationships with senators and representatives to make sure that things say well. And obviously, the whole point of licensure is to protect the public, to protect those that we have the pleasure of serving. So,
Absolutely. It's interesting you made a comment about that uh, when we first got that, we actually put it in as a licensure. And this goes show you how things can change in a matter of seconds. We were in a committee at that time, and somebody on the committee, and one of the lawmakers was said, "I don't think this is licensure. I think it's certification." And within just a few seconds, we went from a licensure bill to a certification bill, and they did not change one iota of a thing in the body of the bill. So I thought it was interesting, really, when you think about how things like that can happen. Because I think that's anymore when people take your license and try to make changes, you you never know what could happen with your bill uh, because they could make changes that you didn't want and add stuff that you didn't think was necessary. So it's interesting sometimes how the politics of things work.
yes, unfortunately and fortunately, depending on which side you're on sometimes, but
Yeah,
obviously keeping a watchful eye of what's happening, and that's I think what you and Ralph, discovered very quickly was got to have the experts that are doing that, and they understand that process much better than we do. Just like
absolutely.
we want to be hired and respected as experts in the rehabilitation field and sports medicine. We need to do the same as well when dealing in other industries, but obviously vitally important to our profession and to our patients. So, what are some things that maybe that were struggles or things that were challenges when you were president? Obviously, licensure and helping push that ball, but obviously, what are some other things that you felt like were maybe struggles?
Well, one of the earlier ones that was always money, which I think is, and even today, as you said, it's still we had to become innovative in ways of trying to get enough money to do the things that we needed to do and we wanted to do because everything costs. There's nothing out there that's free or very minimal things that are free. So, uh, when you think about awards, I, I know this past s- several months we've had our awards, and you think about, well, all that costs to have that done. When you think about having meetings and doing the things that we need to do to promote the profession, it costs money. So I think that was probably earlier on was one of our struggles was to uh, have the financial whereabouts to be able to do the things that we needed to do to help move the profession forward. So, and I think that's probably the case, probably in any profession like that. So
Yeah.
that was a big one for sure. Uh, and like I said, we were really fortunate to have some sponsors. At that time, Methodist Sports Medicine was a big sponsor for us because they had a lot of athletic trainers that worked for them, and they were the docs were involved in that, and so they helped us significantly. And group like at that time, I think Medco and there were several of those groups like that uh, helped us financially to do what we were able to do.
What's a piece of advice you would give a athletic training student or a younger professional just starting their career in athletic training?
You know, well, I know a lot of people. I'm an older guy from the older profession. I think loyalty is important, and at the same time having some uh, where you are having to make some decisions that not necessarily are popular, but it's for the betterment or of the well-being of the athlete. I think you have to have some. You have to do some of those decisions that aren't fun and aren't popular to make, and you got to make that decision to do that. So character, I think, developing strong character in dealing with coaches and the athletes and parents, I think that's important.
Yeah, that's huge to I think I heard somebody say, characters and not only doing what's right even when nobody's watching, and I
There
think
you
that's
go.
that's huge for our profession. Not just because we're healthcare providers and that's the right thing to do is do the right thing, but I think for our profession as well to continue to grow and be better and to show people that yeah, we have to make the tough decisions like you're saying, Steve. But at the end of the day, it's ultimately for what's best for the patient. And a lot of times, many high school or college athletes, and even in the professionals, when we're dealing with our traditional settings, they're not thinking about, you know, 15, 20 years down the road and arthritis and all those other things that complications that could potentially happen, with what's going on. They're in the moment. And I think it's having that ability to say, okay, let's make the right decision for you, not only for now, but also long term. And I think many athletic trainers I see that on a good basis. And I think we have a lot of changing happening within coaching and within administration that value that and understand that it's protecting these individuals not only for now but also for their future.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. So,
And I know a lot of people always ask that question. Well, what should we give athlete training students or younger professionals in advice? But what's maybe some advice in now that you're retired? What's maybe some advice you would give your veteran athletic trainers out there?
Mhm. Well, I think try to open yourself up, learn new things, because the profession is constantly changing. And so I think for some of the older athletic trainers, getting new certifications and more certifications and learning new techniques and I think is important for them. I think it broadens their career by being able to do some of these things that you weren't necessarily taught as an undergrad. Example is like HESH. Are you familiar with HESH?
Yep.
HESH and Graston and needling, some of those things like that. I think that that's important because it gives you some new opportunities that you didn't have added to what they call it the toolbox. This is the old term.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. And even not only learning new techniques, but sometimes it's important to get some of those old techniques out of that toolbox and sharpen them or or get them ready to use because you never know when you haven't used something in a while, but you need to go back and grab it from your toolbox to use it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I'm trying to think what the term is now that where they're uh, researching the things we've been doing for a number of years. Some of them aren't as effective as we thought they were, right? And so they're making changes and telling you not to do certain things that we used. Example is ice. When my earlier career, everybody used ice. We use it every day, tons of it, and a lot of places now aren't using ice as much or at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
As an example. In fact, I have several friends in pro baseball, so I've asked them a couple times about how do you care about how do you all right there I'm back. Sorry, my phone slipped here. Um, how do you care for your pitcher's arms and I was asking them about things that we used to do and something like that and we thought was good stuff. Well, we don't do that anymore. So
Yeah. Well, the
it's
research just
interesting.
keeps telling us, things that we can do better and continue to do better. And not only our profession, but every profession, every specialty in healthcare. It's always what happened 40 years ago isn't the same today. And that's part of us learning and growing and understanding and just trying to do what's
Absolutely.
right for our patients.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very good point. Yeah, no doubt.
Well, one fun question I've been asking everybody that's come on to the podcast is if you could be an animal, what animal would you be and why?
Hey, I want to tell you what. When I saw you said that to me, uh, I don't think I slept very well that night because I was trying to figure out what animal am I. So, and I've yet to figure it out. Oh, what I am, but I am a dog lover, so I would probably be some type of dog.
Yeah, that's always a good answer. Yeah.
Well, I'd be obedient, you know what I'm saying, and loyal to my master. Well, I've had dogs. My boys had dogs, and I've had some special ones. I got one now. He's a basset hound, and loves to ride on the golf cart, and loves to play out in the yard with balls, and just it's interesting. So I
Yeah,
got to be loyal to my dog.
there you go.
What was your animal?
Oh yeah, so somebody else asked me that question. It would be a elk. Uh, I like I go elk hunting, but which It's always interesting the way that they can move through, a forest and timber with a huge, antlers and being able to traverse the terrain and in just an amazing fashion. And I just find that it's so amazing that they can just go through that like it's nothing. Probably because that's their environment, that's where they live. But that's what I would want to be. So just gotta stay away from the hunters, I guess.
There you go. Well, in athletics, it's interesting, but I had a baseball team way back when, and everybody on the team had to have a spirit animal. It was I thought it was quite interesting, and I'm talking about it's probably been 20 years ago or so that they were having spirit animals. So everybody on the baseball team had something, and I thought it was interesting when somebody would talk about their spirit animal and what it was. And when you get to know these guys, you think, well, how in the world does he relate to that? uh,
Yeah. Well, baseball players
Interesting.
do some crazy things, so
It-
but
yeah, yeah, they do. They're very ritualistic.
yes, yep. Well, Steve, I do appreciate you coming on the podcast and coming on the episode and obviously I think echo from a lot of individuals appreciate what you've done for the IATA and what you've done for the profession of athletic training in our state of Indiana and just appreciate all the things that you do and who you are and all the people that you've come in contact with. I know definitely appreciate you through the good times and the bad times, but I'm sure definitely appreciate you and what you've done for them and done for our profession.
Yeah, thanks, thanks. It was a fun career. I enjoyed the ride per se, Uh, and when I retired, the thing that I missed most when I retired was the connection with the athletes and coaches, because those are the people you saw every day, and
Hmm.
then all of a sudden, boom, you're out of there, and you don't have that relationship any longer. So mm,
Yeah,
that's tough.
yeah, definitely a change of pace from
Yes,
working to retirement. But hope
right.
you continue enjoying retirement life. And again, I appreciate you coming on the episode today on the IATA podcast.
Well, Daniel, thanks for all you're doing. I know that you're involved in several things and with the IETA, and I would encourage everybody to get involved because that just makes our profession stronger. If you got people that are willing to get in there and buckle down and do the work and dedicate your time to something that you don't get paid to do
Yep.
necessarily. So we need more. We need more of them. We need
Yeah.
more people like you. I appreciate what you're doing.
Well, I try my best, and everybody has either time, treasure, talent, and something to give to the great profession of and to give to the IATA. So again, I appreciate you, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to the Indiana Athletic Trainers Association podcast. We appreciate you taking time to listen and look forward to you joining us again on the next episode. To find out more about the IATA or to get in touch with us, you can visit our website or reach out via social media.